Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So in this video I want to talk to you about why I have bought a little over $100,000 worth of Rocket Lab shares. So I either have to be crazy or very confident in my thesis, or probably a little bit of both. So I want to explain to you what has happened, why I think this. I'm going to show you my Rocket Lab valuation and my thoughts about this company, and yeah. Spoilers, I'm very bullish on the company. So anyways, please make sure that you're subscribed. This is going to be a very good video, and let's get going. So today I bought 18,300 shares of Rocket Lab, and the reason why I bought it is because I must tell you I was going against what I preach on Twitter and what I always tell you, which is to not try to time the market. I was speaking to my dad. This is a portfolio that I have with my dad, and we sent some money to the portfolio, and we knew that the money would arrive on the 27th. And I told him that we are going to time the market, and you know, when the price drops, then there is a little bit of margin on the account that we can use to buy the shares, and then we will just scoop up shares. And I was thinking today, we had a very interesting communication between each other. Obviously, this is a big buy, so you know, we were talking about it, and we were like, okay, it's Thanksgiving, the market is going to be closed, and you know, maybe there is going to be some bad news during this time, and then you know, we can pick up the shares for a 410 or maybe below 4. You know, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it's something when you're buying these shares, you know, this greed that catches you, or I don't know what it is. And I was on hockey practice with my son, and I was thinking, okay, the chance that it's going to come bad news is the same as there's going to come good news. So maybe there will come good news on the weekend, and the price will shot up to 4.6, 4.8. On Monday, there is a new rocket launch. If that is successful, who knows what is going to happen with the price. And then I just remembered that the only thing that you can guarantee is the price that you have today. And I believe, I'm going to show you later in this video, that this stock is going to be insanely more valuable than what it is today. And to be honest, this few cents here or there doesn't matter. So actually, my dad called me, or we messaged each other with the same thought, and we agreed, okay, we're going to use the margin just to get it over with, because the price is the same as we originally bought. So we have the same average price, and I put in the order, and it went through. So I have over $25,000. 25,000 shares of Rocket Lab, which is a little bit over $105,000 in value. So why did I do this? So I'm a very super long-term investor. If I cannot think to hold a stock for at least 10 years, I don't even want to look at it. And Rocket Lab is in an industry that is projected to grow well into 2020, 30, and even after that, I believe that is the future. I don't see any future for humanity unless there's like a thermonuclear war or World War III, where the space industry is not moving forward. The company has a huge moat. There is 250 startups trying to shoot up rockets, and there is about 3 or 4 companies in the US at least that have actually managed to shoot up a rocket. And even some of these companies are going bankrupt because they took so much money to shoot up rockets that they just burned through all the money that they had. And Rocket Lab is a company that after SpaceX has the most amount of recent launches. They're basically the only small launch provider, and I consider that this is a huge moat for the company. The company is founder-led by a dishwasher engineer. I love saying this. He's one of the main reasons that I invest in the company. This is the guy. I'm sure if you follow Rocket Lab, you know it. You have to look at this title. In New Zealand, without college degree, couldn't talk his way into NASA and Boeing, so he built a $1.8 billion rocket company instead. And yeah, I'm gonna come back to this guy. Fantastic bloke. The more you know about him, the more you like him. I basically almost need to get a room with this guy. That's how much I like him. And this is what I like when I invest in companies. Alex Karp, I also, love him to death. So very big plus point for me. And I have done hundreds and hundreds of hours of research on this company. Fun story. The way that I got into contact with this company, or I looked more into this company, is I wanted to start writing articles for Seeking Alpha, and I saw that they have a short list of companies that they basically want articles on, and Rocket Lab was on this list, and I was like, rocketry, I watched SpaceX, and I heard about them, and this is like a joke company. I don't understand how they're not bankrupt already, because SpaceX is eating their lunch. And then I started looking into the company to write an article for Seeking Alpha, and I just fell in love with the company. And they are not very much in competition with SpaceX, and so it's very interesting, a very interesting story for me. But the point is, I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours of research on this company, and this is why I'm so very confident in my investment in this company. And then there is, of course, the risks that you have to evaluate as an investor. So the space industry is insanely capital intensive, and this is a plus and a minus point. As I said, it's a moat. So once you're past a certain amount of capital expenditure and results that you have achieved, it's very easy to get capital. And Rocket Lab is definitely someone who is basically through this wall of fire. And the reason why I don't consider that there is a bankruptcy risk with this company is because they are literally too big to fail. So both NASA has a policy that they basically don't want to become the government-funded arm of SpaceX, so they don't want to basically just get the budget from the US government and then transfer it over to SpaceX. And for national security and for a lot of reasons, they have this policy to have many providers for many things. And they have in the past basically given contracts to companies that were about to fail just to make sure that they have a competitive landscape. So this is, safety guard number one, that I think that if they would ever run into a money need, NASA would help them out. Then number two is I believe that the governments of New Zealand and maybe even Australia would step in if this company would need money because they ran out of money trying to develop some rocket, to help them out. And on top of it, if you go through their financials, you will find that they are already profitable from the Electron launches and the space systems that they have. They would be producing cash flow, but they're using all the cash flow and then some to develop this new rocket that they call Neutron. So they are, I think that they're the only rocket company that I know about that is profitable. So that is a huge achievement in and of itself. And based on the reasons above what I said, basically there's zero bankruptcy risk for me. Then they have a huge competitive advantage because they are the only small launch provider. SpaceX, did the Falcon 1, and then they abandoned it. They went to the Falcon 9, and just as they abandoned it, there was a whole new space race happening where satellites kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And basically, even though the Falcon 9 is a fantastically cheap rocket when you're sending up, tens of thousands of kilograms, when you are sending a small satellite, it is not your best option. It's actually Rocket Lab with the Electron. So think about it as a truck is probably the best price to kilograms that you can get versus like a car. But if you're ordering a pizza and you're using the truck to deliver the pizza, it's going to be more expensive than just putting it in a car. So, and this is why both of them, this is why I'm saying that they're not really competitors to each other, because SpaceX is over here and Rocket Lab is competing in the small launch industry. And SpaceX, funnily enough, is moving as soon as the Starship is successful, they are going to abandon Falcon 9 and they're going to go into their mission of colonizing Mars. And Rocket Lab is going to again come in after the Falcon 9 with a rocket called Neutron and pick up a lot of slack from over there. So they are actually coexisting and not really competing with each other. And that is not even to mention that Rocket Lab is kind of a misnomer that the founder also said. They should have been called Space Labs, because actually the income is only 33% from rocket launches and 66% is actually space systems, and that is them manufacturing satellites, reaction wheels, solar panels to satellites, and everything that is needed around satellites. So it's not even really a rocket launch company. And again, SpaceX is building their own satellites, but they're not building satellites for other customers. So again, not competing with each other, they are coexisting in a space which is so big, it's literally as big as the universe, and is more than enough space for more players than one. And the number 3 risk is obviously with this company that the future Rocket Lab is nothing like the one that you know today. So they are going to develop a new rocket called Neutron, as I mentioned before. That rocket is going to create so much more income than the Electron rocket. And then on top of it, if you look at the first investor presentation that they have done, they literally said that their business is an end-to-end space solutions comprised of 3 parts. So one of them is the launch, second one is space systems, and third one is space applications, because the rockets means that you have the key to space. The fact that you can create satellites, it means that you can put hardware and infrastructure in space, and when you have these 2 together, it means that you have something that only SpaceX has, which means that you can do whatever the F you want in space and develop whatever applications. And the space applications business, the TAM of that business is about 5 times as much as the satellites and the rocket launch together. So if space is a $1 trillion business, or you have a $1 trillion TAM, then maybe 100 million is the rocket launch, and maybe another 100 million is the building of the satellites, and the 800 million, the bulk of the business or the profits and the money in the business, is in space applications and using space infrastructure to deliver services. So that's services like Starlink or satellite communications, broadband TV, and future applications that have not even been developed, and they're clearly moving towards this goal, and that goal is insanely profitable. And the thing is, there is a risk because they are not there yet. So you're investing into, it's like investing into Tesla when they just announced that we're going to do the FSD. But the point is, where I think that the risk is taken out of this investment is what is needed to reach this step 3, right? You need rockets. They have already built the rockets. Okay, they built the Electron, and the Neutron is soon coming, right? But it's very easy to see that they're going to be able to do it because they have a track record of being able to do it. That's like saying that Tesla has released the Model S, the Model X, and then how much doubt is there that they're going to come out with the Model 3 and it's going to be kind of like what they said it would be? Very little, right? Because they have this past track record. So it's the same with Rocket Lab. And then the second component that is needed is, being able to build satellites and all these parts into satellites, and they're doing all that. So now it's just putting the 2 together, having enough capital to be able to do it. And I think that it's all downhill from here. So this is how I look at that risk. For me, it's basically handled. The risk has been majorly overcome. This company was super risky at the founding, and I don't even understand how they made it at this point and how they didn't go bankrupt. And I feel that they have climbed the Mount Everest, and now they are just on the way down and should be an easy ride. So obviously, there is very, very other real risk with this company that I want to mention. So if they get significant delays in their developments, the rockets can be blowing up on the pad, which again can cause significant delays. If they miscalculate and they run out of money trying to develop rockets, it's going to be very bad for the stock price. I believe, again, that they will be able to handle these things, but they can make the ride insanely bumpy in the stock. So these are the real risks that you have to look at. Another one is that maybe everybody's thinking that the space is expanding, is a very nascent industry, and it's going to be so big. Maybe that's completely wrong, and it's not going to be big, and in which case this investment is going to fail for me. So these are the real risks. Now I want to show you my valuation for Rocket Lab. I think I've detailed it before. This video is already getting long, so I just want to show you the gist of it. So I have it until 2030, and you see that I made it into 3 categories: space launch, space systems, space infrastructure. And I want to show you that on the space infrastructure, because they haven't announced anything, I don't know anything about it, I don't know how to model it, so it's completely empty. And this is the biggest part of what Rocket Lab is going to be. So this part of the business is potentially going to be worth 5 times as much as the first 2, okay? And I couldn't model it. It's a call option basically at this point. On the rocket launch, I modeled that in 2024 they're going to have 2 neutron launches, and then they're going to very slowly scale up neutron. They're going to have 3. It's quite late, and if you join Patreon, you will be able to basically get this number. And if you click on it, you can see that this is the electron launches and this is the neutron launches. So you can see how I calculated, but I believe that these are very conservative calculations. This is the space systems. On the space systems, I was looking everywhere. I cannot find any forward-looking statements that they give, and I believe I calculated very conservatively. I calculated with 25% per year growth, and I calculated, so then you add these 2 together, and then this is the revenues that you get per year. This is the revenue growth that you get per year. You see 50%, 38%, 29%. It's a slowing growth. And then in 2030, I calculated that they're going to have a positive operating margin of 15%. I believe that this also could be conservative. The reason why I think 15% is a good number is because they are having around a 40% gross margin. And for example, Tesla is also a hardware manufacturer. They have 20% gross margin and 7% operating profit. So there is like a 13% gap between the gross profit and the actual operating profit. So here, if I believe they will reach like 40% gross profit, and I'm giving a 25% gap between the gross profit and the actual operating profit, which is very, very conservative. So and if they have the income that I think that they're going to have, the operating profit is going to be $283 million in 2030. If you put a 40 multiple on that, which is very, very reasonable if they keep these growth rates, then you will have a market cap of $11,318 million, very precise. Here you can see the number of shares that they have in 2022, and I count with 3% share dilution. So that means that they're going to have this many shares outstanding in 2030, and all of these will give you a price of $18.35. So the current price is $4.26. So if you would buy at this price, to get to this $18.35, it will give you a 23.19% compound annual growth per year, which is insanely good for seven years. I'm very, very happy with that. And here in this table, you can play with how much compound growth you want. So if you want 25% per year, it spits out a number. Then you have to be buying at $3.85 or below. So I really like to look at it, this both ways. So the point is that I was buying at 422. Let's see what that represents. That's a 23% compound annual return per year, and that is insanely good. Now, just one last thing that I want to show you, which I think is very, very important if you are going to invest in Rocket Lab. And that is actually Monster Beverage, which was one of the best performing stocks, or the best performing stock in the Nasdaq's between 1995 and 1915. So what I want to show you is that it's saying that owning the stock was pure pain. And it says the truth is that Monster has been a gut-wrenching nightmare to own over the last 20 years. It has traded below its previous all-time high 94% of the days during that period. On average, its stock was 26% below its high of the previous 2 years. That's nuts. So you were almost always 26% below. Like your average was that you were always 2 years negative on the stock. It suffered 4 separate drops of 50% or more. It lost more than 2/3 of its value twice, and more than 3/4 once. So more than a 75% drop once. And if you were a long-term investor, believed in this story, and just held through, you had the best performing stock of all the Nasdaq in 20 years. I think that Rocket Lab can be this gut-wrenching, crazy ride. But hey, I'm completely okay with that, and I'm ready to go through that. So this was my overall Rocket Lab video. If you got value from it, I am starting a Patreon, or continuing. I started it before, where I'm going to load up all the companies that I'm following. I'm only planning to follow maybe up to 10 companies that I want to open these super long-term positions, and I'm going to publish my target prices, when I would be buying them, and how much I would be buying, and I would you would see a detailed thesis. And this is all not investment advice, of course, but to give you viewpoints, and you would get alerts if I buy something or sell something, and why. It's none of it is done. So if you would join Patreon now, it's, I think, very little content. It's not much there, so it would just be purely to support the channel, which is still very nice, but I wanted to let you know that this is coming. So anyways, I would really appreciate if you would join. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.